Hello, my name is Russell Myers. Welcome to Issues Unite. So, the other day, Trump announced a limited form of Medicare for all, providing funding for testing and treatment for pandemic patients during the current crisis. Now, it comes with a stipulation that patients will not be double billed, something that was not even included in ACA, Obamacare billing procedures. So that means that doctors, labs, etc., cannot bill a patient with the claim that they are not part of the same medical treatment system or group, which has always been just ludicrous. All right, so no matter how you feel about Trump, this action deserves kudos. I know a lot of people are going to offer valid criticisms that are justly deserved that this comes rather late. Still, if this is made retroactive for those already affected, then it becomes less of a point. Something I'm going to point out here is that I didn't hear anybody really pushing Trump to any degree about acting on this pandemic. And, the Democrats have not been talking about this pandemic, or we're not talking about this pandemic one millionth as much as they were talking about Ukraine, and not 1/100 millionth as they were talking about Russiagate. But now, it comes down to something where human lives are on the line, and, even saying that he acted late, I don't hear any talk of, impeachment or sanctioning him or anything like that. So this tells you everything you need to know about where their values lie. This doesn't have anything to do with, going against Biden or what have you, or against the DNC or Hillary, whatever. So people can die and it's perfectly fine. All right, so I've got my own criticism of this, which is that this policy focuses solely on one specific illness. Millions of Americans are being left without health insurance during this crisis. Some already suffer from chronic illness, and others will suffer from separate acute illnesses during this time and have no medical insurance coverage, leaving them at risk of catastrophic financial consequences or long-term serious medical repercussions, which they would not otherwise suffer if not for the suspension or complete loss of medical insurance tied to their job right at this time. So this policy should be expanded to include all uninsured Americans right now, at least during this crisis, for basic medical care of life and health-threatening illnesses or injuries. Obviously elective and cosmetic procedures should be excluded from this. The events we're experiencing right this moment could be the perfect test bed for universal health care in this country. During such a trial, even on a limited basis, that would take the discussion away from any abstract and into real world practice and proof of concept to confirm that universal health care would be a realistic system in the U.S. for the long term, just as it has been highly functional in many countries for many decades. Obviously we could count on capitalistic influences making every attempt to sabotage the effort. Politically and capitalistically biased creative accounting would be painting the darkest view of this imaginable. We may see actual attempts by detractors to institute the feared death panels that were talked about with universal health care. But that would be easily overcome and just rejected outright. Insurance companies and their paid for elected puppets would be trying to divert the effort back into corporate welfare, like the ACA, Obamacare. We can expect that. And that should just be aggressively put down like a rabid animal. Because we've been there, we tried it, it failed, goodbye. All right? It did more for the insurance companies than it did for the people. Now, if implemented in real terms, even if a universal healthcare system had flaws, it's certain that the American public would all but instantly adopt it wholeheartedly, and they'd prefer working out kinks in that system rather than going back to a for-profit corporate wholesale robbery of the American populace. There can be no argument at the present time that such a program would cause massive job loss. They would claim that there would be massive job losses because of this. Excuse me, I'm wording that badly. They would claim that this would cause massive job losses. But capitalism is doing exactly that. Even the insurance companies are always trying to find ways to eliminate their own employees. But universal health care, pardon me, would actually create and sustain living wage jobs. There could be no claim that this would damage the stock market because the stock market is already imploding in on itself. Right this moment, right now, insurance companies are already planning on increasing insurance premiums by 40% for next year. If they even wait until next year. And this pandemic isn't even over. All right? So that number will probably rise. The longer that the pandemic keeps on going, the more they're going to keep increasing the numbers. Obviously our government is not going to do anything to stop such crippling premium increases. As long as the campaign donations keep on coming in, as long as the lobbyists are still spending money, as long as their campaigns are still getting money, they don't give a damn. All right? With half of the workers in the United States unable right now to, or before the pandemic, were unable to afford a $400 emergency. That means at least that number would be unable to afford medical insurance at all. Probably much more. More than half of Americans would not be able to afford insurance at all. Employer assisted or not. As much as 75% of people would be unable to afford deductibles if they had insurance. And the deductibles will also increase. They'll go up on the premiums, go up on the deductibles, and deny more testing, more treatment, more care. Small and medium-sized businesses wouldn't even be able to compete in this environment for labor, to hire good people, and they'd be completely erased from existence. As a nation, at this point in time, we need to stand our ground and demand that our government start implementing universal health care now. Now. Right now and in the future, after this crisis is over, our health, our lives, and our economy depend on this. To an extreme that it cannot be overstated. I've been writing for years that this crash that is happening was mandatory. It absolutely had to happen for the American people to awaken, to become aware of what has been taken from us over decades. Only then would enough people rise up and demand changes for the better. We're still not at the bottom yet. Not enough people are there. You've got to lose more before you're going to get there. So we have a lot further to fall before those people are ready. It shouldn't take that much. It shouldn't, but it does. Right now, even while a lot of people are not at that point, too many people are still focusing all their blame on this administration. They ignore the fact that we had the discussion about universal health care in 2008 with the ACA, and then we were cheated out of the public option. The discussion was reignited in 2016 with the push by not one, but two candidates, Bernie and Jill Stein, who had been pushing for it longer and more vehemently than him. And look at where he's at now. Okay, so they were talking about universal health care. The discussion for universal health care has been resurrected every single decade. It was talked about in the 90s. It was talked about in the 80s. It was talked about in the 70s. It was talked about in the 60s. And back and back and back. So attaching this issue to one single name is disingenuous at best. And completely delusional propaganda at worst. I'll say that again. Attaching universal health care to one name is delusional propaganda. Because we've been having this discussion my whole life and well before that. All right? And I'm 57 years old. All right? And that one name that people want to attach to it has chosen to intentionally not pursue full implementation right at this exact time when the current administration is implementing it in part, and over 80% of the population approves of universal health care. But 80% of us approve of it. We've got partial universal health care now from this administration. The ball is in our court. Okay? The momentum is on our side as it has never been before. and it will never be again. All right, it's up to us to make use of the spare time that we've got during all of this, because you got a lot of spare time, most of you do, all right, to start pushing for universal health care as if our lives depend on it. Because our lives depend on it. All right, we need to write and call and email our elected officials. We need to sign petitions, do whatever we can. You know, while still maintaining safe precautions. You don't need to be up in some group with picket signs and screaming with pink pussy hats on. All right? You can take action from where you are. Do it. Raise your voice. Demand universal health care. Get involved. Get active. Stop sitting in front of the TV. Put down your beer. Stop crying. Stop hiding in your closet. Start doing something useful and productive. If we wait, we lose this chance. All right? This is the best chance we've ever had for this. We need to use the chance we've got right now. Okay? All right, so that is it for today. If you can, please donate $1 a month to help me expand the channel. I'm going to put my PayPal link below. I'm going to put my link to my website, but I got a problem going on with that. I think I need to call the web host. You know, it said it was because there was some problem with my payment going through. Well, I paid them. Where's my website? Where's my website? All right, so just keep checking back, and you know, it'll be up sometime. All right, that's it for me. Have a good day. Get busy.